A very good evening to everyone. We, the team of Petroleum Engineers Association, is delighted to start our virtual training program on the theme IT for oil and gas industry. We are very pleased to introduce Sundaram Chintamani sir, who will be our speaker for our entire virtual training program. He is the founder of Geneva X Practice Head, Oil and Gas Solutions, Tech Mahindra, and has 35 plus years of experience in developing IT products for oil and gas chain value, asset management, engineering application, project management. Dr. Chintamani had worked as Operation Director, Oil and Gas in HCL Technologies. Sir is also start, sir.
Okay, thank you, Nikhil. Good evening, everyone. So, as introduced by Nikhil, I am Dr. Sundaram Chintamani. I am a oil and gas person, but also got exposed to IT side. Today, I am extremely delighted on two fronts. One is I am greatly fortunate to get associated with the Petroleum Engineers Association, who are everyone is a youngster, right? I am always delighted to associate myself with youngsters who are very fast, very agile, and then quickly responsive. The second delight is because the audience. So I think the audience are also equally young workforce, young petroleum engineers. So with that kind of background, I am doubly delighted to start this session. So this is the very first session of the series of lectures for next 1 week on IT for oil and gas. I think I have to give you a quick introduction about the role of IT. So today, whether you take retail industry, automobile industry, aviation industry, the role of information technology is enormous. So without IT, any specific industry would have gone 50 years backwards. But only with the power of IT, we are able to sustain our operations, and we are able to improve productivity, and even in fact specific verticals like oil and gas, we are able to maintain safety. So by the way, am I really audible, clear? Just to give a thumbs up, so if you are clearly hearing me, or if you have any difficulty, let me know. Okay, cool. Right. Just I want to take a confirmation. Before getting into today's session, actually there is a small change in the agenda. So originally I thought of covering the plant design aspects on the very first day, but really I want to start with plant automation. There is a change. There is a reason for it, because when we talk about information and data in an oil and gas field, we have receiving information from multiple systems, and finally all these systems are collated and presented to the top management or the decision makers. So one such vital source of information is the plant automation system, which is at the very ground level. By the way, can I have a quick idea about the profile of the audience? How many chemical engineers are here? If you are chemical, type chemical. So we have around 40 people here. If you are chemical, please type in chemical. Sauraja, Anita, Smrita, Jyoti, Malik, Barbie. Okay, okay, Pooja. Okay, okay. How many instrument engineers are here? Do we have any instrument engineer here? No instrument engineer. Okay, then how many mechanical engineers are here? petrochemical, petroleum and petrochemical. Mechanical, Vishwanath, Anuraj, petroleum, Nikhil Agarwal, petroleum, Sneha, petroleum, Parth Singh, petroleum, Sachin Kumar, petroleum, Sai Babu, petroleum, Pavinia, petroleum. Good, good, cool. Right. Do we also geologist with 6 years experience, Nitin Kumar, cool. Do we also have electrical engineers? No. So I think instrument engineers are also not there. So primarily this audience comprise of chemical, petroleum, petrochemical, and then mechanical engineers. So this topic, I was wondering whether I'm going to repeat something what the instrument engineers know. So I'm happy that none of our instrument engineers are there. So this information will be new to all of you. So that's a good start. So today's agenda, I'm going to talk about I'm going to give a quick overview about the oil and gas IT landscape, information technology landscape. So what does it mean? IT landscape means the complete portfolio. If you go to any organization, if you ask them to give the list of IT applications, they will give a list. If it is a very big company, the list will be very big, like more than 1,000 applications will be there. So it will be a third-party product, or it can be internally developed IT solution, or even some of the process engineers may be using Excel sheet as a IT application. So that kind of landscape we try to understand. And then we will start with the very fundamental concept, why measurements, unit of measurements. So that is where the instrumentation starts coming in, and the instrumentations around our day-to-day life and the process industry, how instrumentation is very much essential. And quickly give an explanation about open loop, closed loop. So whatever jargons I'm using, the keywords, you make a note of it. That will be really, really useful. Whether you attend an interview or whether you are using these terminologies in your day-to-day life when you join an oil and gas company or an IT service company or plant automation company. I will also cover about the overview of DCS, SCADA system, safety instrumented system, and another important layer called the plant information system. So this is how I have divided my session today. That is going to be the agenda. So if you see the agenda here, if you see this landscape here, this is predominantly what we are going to cover in the next 7 days. So the entire IT landscape is divided into 5 major layers. The bottommost layer is known as the field automation layer. The field automation layer comprises of your control room automation like or field instrumentation, plant automation systems like DCS, SCADA, or even some today's mobility solutions, field automation. So then the next level is known as the business application layer. So which are generally data specific applications like asset management solution, plant information system, lab information system. So they are all more specific to database kind of application, whereas plant automation system is totally a different kind of, it is a different animal. Then we have the third layer where we are trying to integrate all these applications with the help of tools called TIBCO, Web Methods, Vitria, etc. And then we move on to the analytics layer where the business head, for example, HR guy will be doing workforce related analysis. How many people are chemical engineers? How many mechanical engineers? How many welders are there? How many certified welders are there? This kind of analytics. Or when you talk about operation analytics, so where exactly I'm losing money? Which plant is giving me the maximum profitability? So or finance related analytics. What is the cash flow? What is the budget available? How much money I have spent? So all that kind of analytics is happening at a unit level. But the final layer is the business portal or the key KPI dashboard. So that is where the GMs, director operations, they will not be bothered about the plant temperature, pressure. Generally, those things are taken care by the technical process engineers. But the top management will be more interested in knowing about what is your crude throughput, how much more profit you are generating, what is the availability of the equipment in the plant. So they are seeing these kind of KPI. KPI stands for key performance indicator. So they are only concerned about key performance indicator. And of course, with the help of balanced scorecard, they will also be able to compare the performance of different equipment. So, but today's discussion is limited to the plant automation system, which is at the very bottommost of this layer of the IT application. So now we'll start with measurements. In a plant, we have pressure, temperature, flow level, several parameters are measured. And to measure that, we use the instrumentation. Before getting into instrumentation, I'm going to talk about measurements. Can you all type in what kind of measurements you have come across in our day-to-day life? So of course, this slide I'm talking about, I'm giving a very fundamental definition of measurements. Measurement is the assignment of numbers to any object or event. For example, this entire course is spread across 7 days. 7 days is a measurement, and each session is duration is 1 hour 90 minutes, right? So that is a measurement. So we always talk about the measurement in terms of numbers. What are all the different kind of measurements we have seen in our day-to-day life? Just type in or unmute and you just give your response. When you go to weight, length, volume, temperature, good, pulsing. Anything else? So in terms of health, what are all the different kind of measurements we have? Personal health. Just I want to set the context before jumping into the jargons and terminologies. So we have 45 people and only one person has responded. I want you people to switch on your video and interact. If that is not possible, at least type in and respond my questions. Otherwise, that will be like a monologue and it will be boring. Only when you start interacting, this session will be very interesting. Risk, okay, devices, risk, what else? So let's start with some basic stuff. What are all the measurements with respect to personal health? Only 2 people out of 45 have responded. Pascal, Bar, HG, BMI. Yes, Pooja, good. What is BMI? Body mass index, right? So by knowing certain parameters like BMI or BP or your sugar level, you are able to measure the health of your body. The same way, only when you measure the plant parameters, you will be able to measure the health of the plant. So that is secondary. But the very first fact is, when you take crude oil either from earth or when you process crude oil in a refinery, it is undergoing different processes in different process plants. For example, we have crude distillation unit, fluid catalytic cracking unit, viscosity breaking unit, delayed coker unit. Each unit, this crude oil or the petroleum streams undergo different changes, and these changes should be happen in a very controlled condition. You cannot just like that heat temperature up to 500 degrees or so. So these parameters are defined by the design engineers. So based on the design parameters, we have to heat or we have to increase the pressure, decrease the pressure, or adjust the process parameters, any other parameters. So now let's quickly get into the measuring instruments in our day-to-day life. Of course, I'm showing them in the slide, but I want you to respond before I show this slide. What are all the different kind of instruments we see in our day-to-day life? Different kind of instruments. So the previous question was about measurements. Now we are talking about instruments. Instruments measure, thermometer, okay. What else? Sneha, thermometer. Manometer, odometer, speedometer. Odometer, speedometer, they are part of automobile. Okay, cool. Pyrometer. What do you mean by pyrometer, Vishwanath? Where is it being used? A lactometer, I think, to measure the milk purity. Barometer. So in our day-to-day life within our own house, what kind of instruments we use? I think you are still into the industry level, flow meter. But can we start from our domestic life? Domestic day-to-day life, weighing scale, good, great. Pyrometer, remote sensing thermometer. Okay, fantastic. Gas pressure valve. Valve is not an instrument, Chaudhary. So it is just a gadget. It is not an instrument. If you say gas pressure pressure gauge, then it is okay. Gas pressure valve, no. Okay, right. Let me explain you. Gauge meter, right? So these are all the different kind of measuring instruments we use. To start with, very basic instrument is time or clock. To measure time, we have watch or clock. To measure temperature, either body temperature or room temperature, we use different kind of thermometer. To measure distance, we use measuring tape. Measuring tape is also used to measure our height or wrist length or what is that, your waist length. So all that are measured in terms of measuring tape. Then volume is measured in terms of measuring cup. Whether you buy milk or oil, the shop fellow uses a measuring cup, but today most of the stuff are measured in terms of mass using a weighing scale. Then speedometer, I think all of you are familiar, which is available in your two-wheeler or car. And then speed of rotation, we have meter called tachometer. Pressure, barometer, density, hygrometer. These are all the different kind of innumerable instruments we use in our day-to-day life, right? And these instruments are available in our own house. For example, you have a fan regulator. Then in your bathroom, you have a thermostat, which is adjusting the temperature of your hot water. Then if you are old people, you have parents. Many of your parents may be using glucometer, right? Glucometer is to measure the sugar level in the blood. Then when you call a technician, electrical technician, to attend some electrical issue, he comes with a multimeter to check the connectivity and to measure the different kind of parameters. Then we have odometer, speedometer, the oil level gauge in your either two-wheeler dashboard or car dashboard. To measure your car tire pressure, then you use a small pressure gauge. Either you use it at your own garage or when you take it to the air filling station. Then your fridge, you have the thermostat, viscometer, that's good. But when we come to process parameter, so not only with respect to a refinery, petrochemical plant, gas plant, any process parameter, there are 4 parameters which are very important. These 4 parameters determine the entire operation and finally the quantity and the quality of your end products. So what are these 4 parameters? Number 1, flow, temperature, pressure, and level. For example, when I process crude oil in a refinery, the very first instrument is the tank level. Crude oil is stored in tank and I should know the level in the tank. So if we don't know the level, the tank will become empty and all of a sudden refinery will stop. I need to know the level. Then at the end of the pump, I need to have a flow meter which will determine at what rate I am processing the crude oil, the refinery. So each refinery has got a specific throughput and below which you cannot operate, then your profitability will come down, and beyond which you will not operate because that will endanger your plant operation. So always the throughput is limited, designed by the design engineers or the process engineers. Sometimes the process engineer will override and say that the plant is designed for 500 meter cube per hour, but now we can go up to 520 meter cube per hour because we have factor of safety. The flow is important. Then different operations happen at different pressure. For example, in a crude distillation unit, the entire atmospheric column operates at atmospheric pressure, whereas in a vacuum distillation unit, all the operations happen in negative pressure. So pressure monitoring and controlling is important. Then temperature, it is very, very vital. So because the temperature, by distilling the crude oil, I think at a lab level, we understand that crude oil is a mixture of hydrocarbon, and when we distill it, that means when we heat it, then different hydrocarbons separate in different temperatures. So in that case, we have to monitor the temperature at different stages. So these 4 parameters are very, very important in any plant. So whether it is a petroleum plant or gas plant or any other process, chemical process plant. Any questions so far? Before we move on, I want to check with you if you have any questions or if you want to share any points. No? Okay, we are good to go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Then we also have some more instruments which are measuring some additional parameters, right? For example, in a unit, we may have a special equipment called the density monitor, which will be continuously monitoring the density. So otherwise, in a traditional plant where the density is not very important function, what we do is we send the sample to the quality control lab. Quality control lab will use a hygrometer and tell us the density after half an hour or so. So depending on the distance between the lab and the plant or the time, the workload of the employees. But if you think this density is a very, very critical parameter in your plant, then you can have an online density meter. Similarly, there are in some special plants, we also want to know the moisture level in the gas. So this gas may be hydrogen, nitrogen, or oxygen. If moisture is present, either it is going to affect my process operations or it is going to corrode my plant. It is going to affect my the equipment health. So I want to continuously monitor the moisture level. Then the third one is air emission level. For example, I have a stack, and as a organization, you are supposed to give the pollution level reports to the regulatory authorities. For example, pollution control board, you are supposed to say how much carbon dioxide you are emitting, how much sulfur dioxide you are emitting. That is for compliance perspective. You can take a sample and give a report. But for your own safety and for your own community goodness, what we can do is we can put a continuous emission monitoring system, CEMS. So these kind of analysis, they continuously emit like temperature, pressure, flow. They will also give continuous reading, so that you will know whether you are operating the plant in a very what is that, meeting all the compliance criteria. Vibration monitoring, yes, Xavier, that is also good. And vibration monitoring is generally available only for critical equipments. Tomorrow I will be talking about equipments. So the equipments are divided into non-critical equipment, critical equipment, supercritical equipment. So normally for critical equipment and non-critical equipment, the maintenance technician goes with a handle device. He will have some handle device. He will put it on the rotating parts, collect the vibration data. But if it is a supercritical equipment, for example, in a refinery petrochemical plant, only 10 or 15 supercritical equipment may be there, like your hydraulic turbines or your main air blower, flue gas compressor, the wet gas compressor. Some of the critical equipments, even the vibration will be monitored in a continuous fashion. That's good input, Xavier. Thank you so much. So we know what are all the primary fundamental in the what is that, the parameters that are monitored. Again, I would like to reiterate: flow, level, pressure, temperature. Beyond that, we will also be monitoring air emission, density, moisture, vibration, etc., depending on the need and context of the unit. Is that clear? Can I move on? Right. So just I am showing a picture of a manufacturing process, a batch process. What is this? What is this? Can you respond? So are you hearing me a little late because of internet connectivity or making alcohol? Okay, good. Okay, so simple arrack distillation process. So I think most of the places illicitly people manufacture arrack, right? So what they do is they ferment molasses and then they put all kind of stuff and then put it in a vat and heat it with the help of firewood, and then whatever vapor generated, they get cooled because you kept a cool water on the top. It will get condensed and then the condensate is collected, which is known as alcohol, right? This is a very simple batch process, but this process does not have any instrument. So the guy who is making illicit arak, they know at what temperature the alcohol will get distilled and at what temperature he has to stop this and move ahead with the another batch process. But when you go to the actual process plant, even if it is a alcohol manufacturing unit, so we cannot operate without any instrument, because once you start the plant can go for variations and it can have kind of disturbance. So when some disturbance is happening, you should know what is happening inside the plant. Without instrument, you cannot know. Like how the doctor is monitoring your BP or heart pulse rate. So without, he is using an instrument. So without an instrument, just by asking you questions, he cannot understand what is happening. Of course, he will ask questions, what is happening. If you are not well, he will ask what food you have taken, how long you are having giddiness. He will ask questions, but only with the help of instrument, he will validate its findings. So in a process plant, by experience, you may know what flow is going at what level you are maintaining, but without instruments, it is very difficult to do the continuous operation. So I am just showing a very simple process. Just a minute, I am getting a call. I am not sure whether it is from one of you. Hold on. Okay, so that's from a different person. Sorry for the disturbance. Right, so this is a simple flow diagram. This is to send a boiler feed water. We are sending water to a boiler, right? So the boiler feed water is treated water from the boiler feed water treatment plant is coming to this boiler feed water drum, and you are trying to put steam, heating steam, and the steam passes through the water and all the gases, dissolved carbon dioxide, dissolved oxygen, they are venting out. And the water without any gas is pumped to the boiler because the gases will corrode the system. The boiler tubes and the boiler drum will get corroded. The gases are present. So this is how a simple process is there. So I think you all will be able to quickly understand. Some of you would have, chemical and petroleum students would have gone through something called the process flow diagram. If you are not familiar, so still you can understand. The lines represent the pipeline. This diagram represent an equipment. A small circle represent a pump. All the two triangles represent a wall. I think you will be intelligent enough to understand the process, right? So this is a continuous process. The water is continuously coming in, and continuously water is taken to boiler, and the steam is continuously coming in, and some gases are venting out. So this is a process where the different kind of parameters need to be maintained. I want to measure, so what is the flow of the boiler feed water every time, every minute I want to monitor. What is the boiler feed water level, the drum, because if the level falls below 5% or 3%, then the pump will start cavitating. So I need to continuously monitor the level of the boiler feed water drum, and I also need to monitor the flow of the boiler feed water to the flow boiler, because that depends on that is going to determine the steam I am going to produce. And I also open loop, right? The next scenario, what I am trying to do is, the system is almost similar, but instead of the process parameter directly going to the control room, it is going to a small microprocessor. So MP stands for microprocessor, which is nothing but a small microcomputer. So the plant parameter, the control room operator, he is not calling the field operator. He is only giving a set value by keying in the control room, by doing something in the control room keyboard and then the mouse. He is adjusting the set value. And when the controller, it's a microprocessor, it is getting two inputs. One input is coming from the field instrument, which is known as process value. The other input is coming from this set value, coming from the control room operator. And the PV and set value, both are supposed to be the same. If there is any difference, the microprocessor will calculate the corresponding output to the control valve so that the valve can open or close, right? For example, like as I said earlier, so now the plant was running at 100 meter cube per hour, and all of a sudden there is a disturbance, and all of a sudden the flow increased to 110 meter cube. So earlier the PV was 100 and control room operator set value was 100, and the valve was opening at 60%. But now the flow has increased from 100 to 110 meter cube. but the set value remains 100 meter cube. So now there is a small delta. So the controller understands that there is a delta, and now it is trying to change the output. What is it supposed to do? Now, should it supposed to close the valve or open the valve? What is your response? From 100 to 100 meter cube it has gone. Now the microprocessor or the flow controller, should it send a signal to the control valve to open further or close further? Close. Okay. Close, 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 close. I think all of you got the message, right? So this is a simple concept, but how much to close? So it will be calculated. It is based on some algorithm known as PID algorithm. So PID based on PID algorithm, this output will be determined. For example, earlier I said the valve was opened at 60%. Now it will send a signal to close it further, and now the valve will open close at 50%. 50%. Because of the closing of the valve, the flow will now reduce to some 95 meter cube. But again, your set value remains to be 100. So now there is a difference. Earlier it was 110 and 100. Now it is 95 versus 100. Still there is some difference. Now what should it do? Whether it should open or close? A microprocessor, what kind of signal it should send? Open or close? Open, open, great, great. I think you all have understood the concept. So now, by opening and closing, it is trying to fine tune to match the value given by the control room operator, right? So that is what every controller is supposed to do. For example, and all this will happen only when the controller is in automatic mode. When it is in manual mode, then you have to send the signal. The controller will not send the signal. That means you are trying to bypass the controller. So this is the primary function. I think this concept you should be familiar. But when you start opening and closing, and when the flow is hunting between 110 to 95, 98, 105, 100, 102, so all this, for this kind of disturbance, it is going to affect the plant. It is going to give disturbance to the plant, and especially when if it is a hot fluid, so you will have thermal shock, you will have pressure shock, which we want to minimize. So that is where every controller has got some tuning parameters. By adjusting the tuning parameters, you will be able to change the response time. So that means the variation, so whether to open or close the valve, whether to adjust the flow from 110 meter cube to 90 meter cube or 98 meter cube. So how fast you are arriving to the set value, that is very, very important. So everything will happen in a matter of few minutes. So we have a question from Debashis. Are most of the process plant today work in auto mode? Yes, when you have a control system, all controllers will be in automatic mode 24/7 unless you have some problem with the instrument. When you have some problem with the instrument, we put it on manual mode, and then you will be sending the signal. So I think we have to clearly understand this word. So you are asking a question, are most process plants today working auto mode? So this auto mode is applicable for each instrument. For example, I have 50 instruments. Out of 50 instruments, 30 instruments are open loop indicators. They only transmit information from the field to the control room, right? But there are 20 instruments where I have a controller through which the microprocessor will be able to adjust the plant parameters in case of any disturbance. I will give an analogy. You go to a flight, the controller, like control room, we have the cockpit. So the pilot is measuring several parameters, right? The several parameters, for example, wind velocity and the moisture level in the atmospheric air. Then he is also measuring the turbine, your engine, flight engine's turbine speed, or the aviation turbine fuel flow. He cannot control everything. He can only control the engine speed. He can only control the altitude, or he cannot go and control the wind velocity. He cannot go and control the atmospheric moisture level. So same way in the process plant, there are certain parameters which we don't want to control. I only want to observe. So that is called the indicator. Then where I want to make the control, then it is known as controller. So controller is also having an indicator, but it is having an additional parameter known as microprocessor. Is that clear? So this response time is very important. For example, every flow need to be immediately. So now the plant is running at 100 meter cube, but the management, top management says that increase the throughput by 10%. So the control room operator, by click of a button, he will be able to increase the flow. So just he will key in from 100 to 110. So within 1 minute, the throughput will be increased. So all will happen through the microprocessor controller and the entire control room mechanism. So all your sensing and the pneumatic signal, electronic signal, everything will take action within a minute. But in case of a temperature, we don't want that kind of fast response. We want that to happen. Maybe it may take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on the size of the unit and depending on the context. Because when I change the temperature in a drastic fashion, it is going to affect my equipment performance. They will have thermal shock, or sometimes it can also lead to catastrophic incidents. But whereas flow level, all that will happen fast. Is it clear? Shall we move on? Any questions so far? Thank you, Debashis. Happy that your doubt got cleared. Right. We'll move on. So this is, as I said, in a plant you will have flow meters, pressure, everything will be there. And we have two set of manpower are here. So one person who is sitting in the control room, known as the control room operator, who is equivalent to a pilot in a aircraft. So he is generally an experienced person. Most of the plants, either it will be the academic background will be a diploma holder or a BSc graduates, or sometimes they put a chemical engineer or a BSc chemistry graduate or a diploma in chemical. So these kind of background people go there, but definitely a control room operator will be an experienced person, at least who has worked in all the plant for 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. But whereas the field operator is a relatively inexperienced person, and his job is to ensure that all pumps are working properly, whether any abnormal noise is coming, whether the cooling water flow is proper, the lube oil level is okay. So these kind of routine checkups he will do, and he will also note down certain instrumentation reading in his log book. But today, these paper-based logbooks are slowly being replaced with the help of mobile devices. So these are all some of the instruments which are not directly connected to the control room. They are all slightly trivial instrument, but definitely we want these readings also to be recorded. So that is what the job of the field operator. And if you see the plant, as I said, it comprises of thousands of instruments. For example, in a refinery, an ordinary refinery will have at least 1,000 instruments, and out of 1,000 instruments, maybe you will have 200 controllers and 800 different other instruments, indicators and kind of stuff. And each loop has got a sensing element, microprocessor, final control element, etc., etc., etc. So this is a pictorial representation of different instruments shown here. Okay, now as I said, most of these instruments give inputs to the control room. Whether you operate a control refinery or a petrochemical plant or a nuclear power plant or a power plant, steam-based power plant, these instruments are connected, and then final indication comes to control room. And as I said, this control room operator, the analog control room means you will have multiple instruments which will have analog display. You will have dial gauges, you will have switches or push buttons, this kind of stuff. And in a complex analog control room, it will be the control room operator is also supposed to note down all this reading in his logbook every 2 hours or every 1 hour, depending on management philosophy. So normally what you will do is, from left to the right, the entire plant, the entire, and I think you will be able to see small process flow diagrams here. The entire plant process flow is represented here, and each of these instruments are located in the appropriate segment. For example, the furnace stop, the indicators, the fan indication, or emergency switch off buttons. So these analog instruments, they give a true representation of how the plant is behaving. But as a control room operator, though you are monitoring it, but you also have the cumbersome job of noting down all these readings. But these kind of analog control rooms are no more existing, except in very, very primitive plant where they are not spent enough budget. But most of the refineries, most of the petrochemical plants, most of the chemical process plants, they are all switched over to computerized control room. So which has happened almost 3 to 4 decades back. So I think till 80s, when I was working in a refinery in Chennai, up to 85 we had analog controls, and after 85 onwards we started moving to DCS. That is the point of time between 80s to 90s. All the refineries in India, they switched over to computer-based control rooms. The computer-based control rooms, we use a special term called distributed control system. DCS, in short, it is known as the DCS. So DCS is a complete setup, right? It's not just a control room alone. So we have the field instruments, we have the indicators, we have the microprocessors, then we have the supervisory computer, and between every two supervisory computer, then we have a coordinating computer, and finally all this culminate into the control room. So the control room is like a nerve center or the brain center, from where everything can be monitored with the help of monitors, special monitors, like how we see different things in our computer system. So here the display system will be slightly different, and you have some special keyboards, so through which you will be able to see the complete performance of the entire plant. But in a complex refinery, the entire process plant is divided into small units, and these small units will be part of blocks. For example, you have crude block, hydrogen block, loop block. Under loop block, you will have a hydro treating unit, you will have dewaxing unit, furfural extraction unit. Under hydrogen unit, you will have hydrogen manufacturing, hydro desulfurization. This is how the hierarchy will be there. But all the plants will come to one single control room, and again within the central control room, you have 3 different DCS systems I'm just giving a number. So depending on the number of the units, the number of DCS system will be varying. So complete network and a cohesive system, that is known as DCS system. And this is how a DCS based control room will look like. Has anyone had a chance to work in a refinery or any process plants in a control room, or during our industrial visit, have you visited a control room? If so, type in yes. I want to ask you some questions or feedback. Vignesh, you visited. Which plant you have visited, Vignesh? You were in Bahrain. Was it a gas plant, refinery? Were you working or you just visited? Gas plant. Was it a visit? You were working. Can you unmute yourself and then give a quick overview about the DCS control room? Just based on your experience, Bana gas plant. So what kind of DCS system was there? Where is it? Honeywell, Yokogawa, and how long you were operating there? Share your experience in 2 minutes. Unmute.
Just a second, sir. I'm unmuting him.
So more than me talking throughout this session, I would like to hear from the participants. When you hear from your own peers, then the learning will be more powerful. Only once you visited. Okay, what were your observations, Vignesh?
Sir, I worked as an NDT technician there, sir, in a Bana gas plant.
Okay.
Only once I visited there. There I saw Honeywell crude oil that they are storing there. They are sending the crude oil from Bahrain to Iran.
Okay.
By manufacturing. I worked in the compressor station, sir. In that, they are compressing the crude oil into the form of petroleum or in the gas, and the steam gas is converted into the power and generated to the steam turbine, and they are converting that is also the power and sending to other countries like Iran and Iraq, sir.
Okay. So you were not part of the control room operations. You just visited.
Yes, sir. Only once I visited. Nearly for 1 hour I was there, sir.
Right, right, right. So this is how a control room will look like. You will have a couple of monitors. They are special rugged monitors, and they also have touchscreen facility. And if you see the keyboard again, it is a different kind of keyboard. And the DCS system will have a different kind of display system, right? So this is probably this DCS system may be monitoring 3 or 4 plants, but within a control room, you will have 3 or 4 such systems. So each will have 3 or 4 monitors and keyboard systems. If you see here in one screen, you are seeing the graphics. This is known as graphic page. So by seeing this graphic page, you will be able to understand the process flow, like the distillation column, separator, compressor, and the parameters will be in real time. They'll get updated on the graphic page. On the top, you are seeing a trend page. Are you able to see the top screen where I have placed my cursor? So this is the trend screen. So for example, one particular parameter like a temperature, it is fluctuating, it is going up and down. So I'm able to see whether the plant parameters are in steady state or whether it is taking the sinusoidal journey. And then we also have something known as alarm summary. So whenever there is alarm generated, the alarm will be, you will have a separate page. So by pressing different kind of keyboards, like your computer keyboards, you have F1, F2, F3, right? So like that, you have functional keys. By pressing the functional keys, I can see the plant parameter in multiple perspective. So either I want to see it from graphical way, I can see it, or all controllers, they are grouped together. Then you can see the control group page, or I can see the trend page. Is this clear? So as I said, this is the graphic page, this is the trend page, then we have the alarm page. Probably I'll take a pause here and try to show you a DCS simulator, then you will be able to understand. I'll stop sharing my screen, give me a minute. In the meantime, if you have any question, let me know. I'm going to share you a simulated DCS system. So please let me know whether you are able to see the screen. Are you able to see this DCS system? Please respond. So it's better to use your audio rather than typing it in the chat, because it's difficult for me to monitor the chat window. You can unmute and tell me. 1 minute, let me see the chat window. Where is it? One of you, can you unmute and tell me? I'm unable to see the chat window, so that's why I'm continuously asking you. You are able to see?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how the control room will look like. So the plant is represented in the form of a graphic page. For example, this is a depressurizer column. NGL liquid is coming inside the distillation column, and it is heated by reboiler. The vapors go to the top. You have a condenser, and then one portion of the reflux collected here, pumped back to the distillation column. The bottom product is taken out from the distillation column. Then the top product is taken to the next the bottom product is taken to the next column known as a debutynizer. So each red box is a controller. If it is not with a red box, then it is an indicator. For example, the bottom product DFI. So this is how the each instrument will be, nomenclature will be there. D stands for depropanizer, F stands for flow, I stands for indicator. DFI means immediately I will be able to understand this instrument is related to the depropanizer unit, and it is related to flow, and it is an indicator, not controller. Whereas DLC 201 means distillation column level controller, right? So whenever you have see a controller, the output will go to a wall, whereas an indicator, it is just one way, that's all. So in the control room, I can see all this, and I will also be able to see the trend of these parameters. For example, I'm seeing the trend, right? So at 1852, this was the parameters. For example, I can move the cursor, and then right now I have some challenge, I'm unable to move the cursor. But currently at 1855, these are all the parameters. So either you can see the trend or you can see it here. This is the trend page. Then I have something called group page. This is called the control group page. All the controllers are properly grouped, and you will have multiple such groups. Suppose I have 100 controllers, then I'll have some 10 or 15 group pages. This is the trend page. Then this is the graphical page. Then now I'll give a problem here and see here what is going to happen in the plant. I'm going to stop one of the pumps, and all of a sudden you will get all.
Wing Alfred, normal. No put a class time.
Are you able to see the alarm sounds? I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Right? So whenever there is a problem, immediately alarm will come, and then you have to go to the alarm summary page. One minute. Yes, this is called the alarm summary page. So here all the alarms will be coming in a chronological fashion. So the very first incident happened in 1856, and it was cascading into multiple columns. So yeah, because I stopped the pump, feed pump to the entire unit, and now the entire plant is going to a shutdown mode, and alarms will start coming in. So as a parallel operator, you are supposed to go to this page and find out what is the root cause that has triggered all the alarms that has to be corrected. So in this case, what he is supposed to do is, he has to inform the field operator that the pump is tripped. Normally, when critical pumps are tripped, immediately the standby pump will get started. So now I have to acknowledge all these alarms. And I will put the plant in the design mode. Silencing button is not working. Yes, now it's okay. Now it is coming back to normalcy. See here. So last 5 minutes, I took the pump, and it was making all kind of upset, which is evident at the tread panel. So the control room operator's job is, yes, go ahead.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
What is it? How is it now?
Now is it fine?
Okay, I think since the simulator was running, because
Yes, sir. That's why, sir. That's why, sir. Yes, sir. You can close that one, sir.
yeah, I have closed it. Now is it clear?
No, sir. Background
No,
sound
sir.
is.
So is still my voice not audible? How is it now? Yeah, the
Some
speaker.
background music is coming, sir.
So music,
Nikhil, you have to unmute everybody. You have
music is not
you
from
have to
me.
mute it rather, not unmuted. You have unmuted everybody. That's why the disturbance is there.
Oh, not from me. Are we good to go?
Please everyone mute your mic.
You can mute everyone and then finally unmute me, Nikhil.
Everyone is muted, sir. You can start, sir.
Am I audible now?
No, sir, background music is coming, sir. Something.
No, it's not from me. What music? What kind of music?
Everyone is muted already.
So what kind of music you are getting?
Sir, once you reduce your microphone volume, sir.
Maybe headphone बढ़िया.
Coming, sir. Echo. Like.
Hold on. How is it now? How is it?
No, sir.
No. Is it okay? Good to go? So these are all the different kind of pages by using which the control operator will control the entire plant operation. So theoretically speaking, once a plant is running properly, everything should work properly. But in reality, always there will be some kind of disturbance will be there due to upstream disturbance or downstream disturbance, or while the utilities will be giving some problem. So you have to constantly monitor and correct the action. So, like how your pilot is putting the flight in auto mode for some time, autopilot mode for some time, but when landing and taking off, he has to maneuver and then take correct action. Same is the case like control room operator. Whenever there is some disturbance or emergency, he has to take, he has to use his knowledge and experience. And this is a modern control room. So can you see some difference between what I have shown in the previous and this modern control room? Mohammed, can you mute yourself? So now you are seeing the picture of a modern control room. How is it different from what I have shown in the previous picture? Can you see some difference? You want to see the previous control room? I will show you once again. Okay, this one. Difference between this and this.
Background music is coming, sir. Full.
What music here? I am unable to know. Is it cine music or that alarm sound? What is it? When you, unless you explain, I am unable to understand. And is it coming from my system? Hello.
Yes.
What music?
Sir, once you join again, sir.
Okay,
Once you join again, sir, link. If possible.
tell me what kind of music you are getting. So I am just.
Like what is doing, sir?
That alarm sound? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. So what is the difference between the previous one and this one? So here you see huge giant LCD monitors, because today such kind of monitors are available. We have giant LCD monitors so that you are able to see the entire process plant in a go, right? So not only that, you are able to see weather forecast, third party systems, because like operating a gas plant or refinery, you should know at what point of time storm is coming. So all that you should be aware of it. So accordingly, either you have to shut down the plant or run the plant at lower throughput. So this is how it is slightly different, the modern control room, right? So then whatever we had discussed, it is all about DCS. We have something known as SCADA system. SCADA stands for, it's an acronym, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. It is almost like a DCS. SCADA systems are predominantly, this is also a combination of field instrument, sensing element, control valves, but predominantly it was used for some repetitive action. For example, you have some cylinder filling system, your yard management, where some kind of mechanical activities are there. That is where SCADA were used. Or in a small scale plant like water treatment plant or city water distribution, that is where SCADA were used. And earlier, probably 2 to 3 decades back, SCADA were different and DCS were different. But today, SCADA and DCS almost they have merged, because all SCADA manufacturers, they started manufacturing DCS. But generally, when you go to a refinery, the process plants are operated using DCS system, and the peripheral plants are operated with the help of SCADA system. But in principle, both of them are almost same. Then we have something known as remote terminal units. Remote terminal units are primarily meant for your gas plants in island, or you have a water treatment plant or water purification plant, which you want to operate from a report. So in a refinery, the plant is in the refinery, and the control room is situated inside the process plant. But whereas certain plants, for example, you have multiple water treatment plants, multiple water distribution system or gas distribution system, which you want to operate from a remote location, from the headquarters you want to remote. So that is where we are using remote terminal units. So they are all part of SCADA or DCS systems. So for example, this is a RTU in an oil field. So each of the different kind of instruments are located in different parts of this donkey well, donkey pump. Then we have something known as safety instrumented system. So predominantly safety instrumented system, SIS, comprises of programmable logic controller and emergency shutdown systems. So why I want to highlight about this is also having instruments, sensing instrument, shut off valves. So we have logic controllers are there, which is also present in the DCS system. But generally, when a project is given to an automation vendor, a refinery is being constructed, Indian Oil is constructing a refinery, then the automation job is given to Honeywell. The safety instrumentation job will be given to a third party, because the third party will give, it is not given to the same party who are implementing the plant automation system, because third party will have more focus towards this. Third party means another company. So primarily, for example, I was talking about the boiler feed water system. When the level comes below 5%, at any time the pump can get tripped. So I don't know, in that case, the boiler will starve and then boiler tube may get punctured. Yeah, safety accident can happen. I don't want that to happen. So normally the DCS control room operator will take action when something goes wrong. But when something goes beyond his control, for example, when the level falls below the threshold limit, then it has to, the pump has to be stopped. The burner has to be stopped. The pressure relief valve system should be open. So that is all possible with the help of a programmable logic controller. They can be programmed offline. So programmed by the instrument engineers. So at 50% it should generate our alarm. At 40% it should generate one more alarm. At 30% level it should trip the pump. So that's how I can program it, and I can reprogram it at any point in time. Emergency shutdown systems predominantly referring to shutdown valves. So taking inputs from the instrument and either it will open a valve, close a valve, or stop a motor or start a compressor, mostly stopping of all the electrical equipment. So these are all, each one is an independent system, but it will be part of SCADA system or DCS system. Is it clear? Any questions so far? Shall I move on? Response, please. Shall we move on? Good to go? Okay. Please answer the above. Are remote terminals and remote telemetry units are same? Yes, both are same. So it is a different kind of terminologies used. Remote telemetry means anything remotely controlled. Yeah, so both are same. So depending on the context or depending on the company, people use different terminologies. And these are all some of the plant automation giants: Yokogawa, Honeywell, Invensys, Rockwell Automation, ABB, Emerson, Schneider. And each one has got multiple products. For example, Honeywell, their DCS system is known as TDC or 3000. I think now they have a different name. For example, Emerson has got a product known as Delta V, Delta 5. Yokogawa has got the Centum operating system. These are all company names. Product names will be different. So when you are looking for job opportunities, think about all these companies. And now I discussed in length about instrument measurement, but the overall concept of this entire 7 days program is all about IT for oil and gas. How is it this particular subject or today's session is relevant from the context? So actually whatever information provided by the instrument, they are all consumed by different stakeholders. So whatever the instrument readings are also one kind of data. So when we talk about data, data can come from ERP, like your sales and marketing related data, or it can be lab data. It can be maintenance related data, how much money you spent on maintenance, which I will cover it tomorrow. But today focus is on about plant data. So the plant data, they are all, plant data is consumed by plant operators, plant supervisors to run smooth running of the plant. Then process engineers are chemical engineers. For process engineering purpose, they want to know what is happening inside the plant. For example, every process engineer will be responsible for the health of the plant. Whereas the plant operator, plant supervisor job is only for 8 hours. As long as the plant is running smooth for 8 hours, then that's all. They'll go back and relax. But whereas the process engineer is answerable for the plant performance for next 1 year, 2 years. So even at when he is at home, he will be thinking about the plant. Then we have a different group called optimization engineers. Then we have someone group known as planners and schedulers. Planners and schedulers, they are not very much bothered about temperature, pressure. Process engineering group they are very much concerned about all the parameters. The planning group, they are more interested towards the flow related parameters. How much crude was processed, how much diesel I have produced last 8 hours, last 1 week. So based on that, I'll be able to, as a planner and scheduler, I'll be able to do all the weekly planning, monthly planning, 6-month planning, and annual planning. So each people has got the requirement from the plant data, and generally the process engineer comes to the control room and collect all the information. He talks to his team members and jot down all the readings. But this was happening almost three decades back. So this is how they used to come and collect all the data. But today, with the help of a system known as Historian or real-time database, all the plant parameters are all stored in a very big database where the data is compressed in a using a special algorithm, and that compressed data can be consumed by anyone. So who is providing such kind of services? A company known as OSA Soft. So today I think OSA Soft has been taken over by another company. I forgot the name. Today it was a news. They have a system known as Spice system. Then there is a company known as AspenTech. They have a product known as IP21. And all the DCS vendors, the plant automation vendors also have Historians. So Historian is a database software application that logs all data. Like with the help of Historian, I can go back and then find out what, for example, as a process engineer, I work only 5 days a week, whereas the plant operators work in shift all the 7 days, right? Process engineer, I come back on Monday morning and I feel that something wrong in the plant. So using historian, I can go back and move the cursor and find out what are all the disturbance that has happened during Saturday, Sunday or night shift, right? So all the information are stored, and depending on the size of the hard disk, either you can store it for 3 months or 4 months. Generally, we store it for 3 months and take a backup in a CD drive. And the last 33 months data will be available for real-time consumption. And some data will be in real time, it will be consumed by the process engineers, or sometimes near real time, meaning once an hour, they will take average data for planning purpose or something like that. And this is how the historian will be located. For example, again, the data is coming from multiple instruments from left to right. Then it goes to the SCADA system, third party manual data. And this is where your PI interface is there. PI is a particular product, plant information system. From plant server, it can go to different clients. Different client means process engineer, planner, or even general manager operation, director operation. And today, the same data can also be taken, consumed using a mobile device. For example, the director operation will be sitting in Delhi. From Delhi, he can monitor all the plant performance, all the plants. For example, Indian Oil has got 12 refineries. They from city corporate officer sitting from Delhi, they can monitor all the plant throughput in real time. That is possible. And when we talk about instrumentation, there is something called ISA 95 architecture. ISA stands for Instrumentation Society of America. So I'm not going in depth about all the definition. I will share the slide deck later. But this is how the hierarchy will look like. So the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. So level 1 talks about all field instruments, the small minute instruments. Level 2, this is where you have PLC, DCS, SCADA kind of systems. Then level 3, we have the applications like manufacturing execution system, laboratory information system, workforce management system, computerized maintenance management system, which I will cover in the next few days. All these business level applications will be there in level 3. And then level 4, then you integrate with the ERP and then finally take it to the. So initially, the very first slide I showed about how the landscape looks like. Almost the ISA 95 architecture is also almost in the same fashion. So generally, the IT companies will, the plant automation guys like Honeywell, Yokogawa, ABB, they will work up to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 1, level 2. The IT guys like Wipro, TCS, Tech Mahindra, HCL, Cognizant, what is that, IBM, Accenture, these people work on this layer and finally take the dashboard to the top management. And we also have something known as OPC standard. Just try to understand the terminology. OPC is a standard. So you have multiple systems. So within a refinery, within one refinery, you will have multiple units. Multiple units have different kind of DCS system. You may ask why. So if you have the same system, the cost will come down, right? But still they will have multiple systems because they don't want to have monopoly. So entire refinery may not have a Honeywell system. One refinery will have Honeywell, another refinery will Yokogawa, because every time you will go for tender and whoever is bidding for the lowest bid, they will select. So that's why you have multiple systems. But each system, if they have different standards, then it is very difficult to integrate. So that is where a non-profit organization has come as OPC. So the OPC has come out with standards. So everyone should convey in the same protocol. So using this protocol, it is easy to integrate. Even if you have multiple systems, multiple PLCs, multiple SCADA system, it is easy to integrate and finally build the integrated application. So that gives a overview about plant automation system and plant information system. So primarily two major items today I have discussed. One about the plant automation system, predominantly revolving around the field instrument, SCADA, PLC, DCS, etc., etc. Then the next one is about plant information system, where we talk about historian, through which the data is consumed to the different stakeholders. and I also give a lot of case studies and kind of stuff. With that, I'll take a pause, and next 5 minutes, if you have 10 minutes, we can reserve it for question and answer session, or if you want to share something, you can share. Any questions so far? At the end of today's session, I'll be sharing a link for a quiz program, just 10 simple questions. I'll pass it on to Nikhil, who will share it for the group who have attended. And you have to complete that quiz before tomorrow. And the speciality about this quiz is person who is answering all the 10 questions, even if 2 people are attending all the giving 10 correct answers, will not get the same score. So the score is also based on your response time. So if you take 3 minutes to answer the question, your mark will be slightly reduced. Whereas another person who is giving the same answer in 1 minute, you will get more mark. So you have to be fast enough to, you have to give clear answer, and you should also respond in a faster manner. Yeah, copy of the deck will be provided through PA. So if you are not asking a question, then I am going to ask question, and I'll call people and ask a question. Nitin Kumar, what does PLC stand for? Can unmute and answer. Nitin, PLC. What does PLC stand for? Is it possible for you guys to switch on your video and be there throughout the session, 1.5 hours, at least starting from tomorrow? So very difficult to talk to static screen, in front of static screen. Either you should continuously chat, or you should unmute and speak, or you have to keep your video on. What is convenient for you guys? Otherwise, this will be monologue. You are on chat. Okay, go ahead. So I asked a question. Can anyone answer what is PLC stand for? Programmable logic control. Super. Who said that answer? Xavier. Good, good, good. Okay. Without Googling, can anyone tell what is the expansion for SCADA? Supervisory control and data acquisition. Superb. Xavier, are you from instrumentation background? Okay. Pressure controller, is it example of open loop or closed loop? Okay, mechanical engineer, Xavier, thank you. Pressure controller, is it an example of open loop or closed loop? Closed loop. Why do you call it as open loop or closed loop, Neeraj? Because it is calculating the output and sending a output to the control wall. So we are able to control the parameter. So it is closed. We are not just, it is not one-way communication. We are receiving the process value from the field to the control room, and from control room we are also able to control the parameter using the controller. So that's why it's called closed loop. Okay. It is not because it takes a decision, it is not taking a decision, it is sending output based on an algorithm. Decision making is different, sending output is different. So I hope I give clarity. Then next question. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to mention 5 companies names. So you have to tell me the odd man out. You have to tell me the odd man out. ABB, Honeywell, Wipro, IBM, Emerson, Wonderware. Who are the odd man out? Wipro, why? Nitin? You have to tell me the answer, rationale for it. Why? I'm not only looking for answer, I also need some kind of explanation. This is not one-word question. Why Wipro? How is it not instrumentation company? Cool. So Wipro is an IT service company. And one more odd man was there. Was it? IBM. Cool. Right. Do you have any other questions? Or should I keep asking questions? We have 4 more minutes. Do you have any questions? So I think with the help of a simulator, I was also able to give you an idea about how the DCS will look like, the graphic page, trend page, control group page, alarm page. So you got an idea. Wipro works on level 3, level 4 kind of service. Good. The questions. ISA stand for what? ISA. We discussed about ISA 95 standards. What does ISA stand for? It's an acronym. Instrumentation Society of America. Cool, cool. Great. What happened? We had around 40-45 people. Now it has come to 35. The people have gone for dinner. Any other questions? EST stand for what? Thank you, Xavier. ESD, emergency shutdown. So I also mentioned about safety instrumented system, SAS. SAS comprises of ESD and dash. What is that? One more. It comprises of ESD and dash. PLC. Super, super, Devashish. I think all of you are very attentive and you are responding. I'm really happy about it. What all systems for safety management can be checked from control room screen? So is it a question or are you giving an answer for my question? 194,999. So from next class onwards, please log in your using your name. It's very difficult to call someone by name, call someone by number. 194,999. So are you asking a question? Question. Yes. The DCS comprises of PLCs, emergency shutdown systems. These are all the things which takes care in case of extremity. But whenever something goes wrong, small deviation, immediately the control room operator gets alarm using the alarm summary. You will immediately get an alarm. For example, when the flow, you are supposed to, the design flow rate is 100 meter cube. Whenever you get 110 or some number designed by the design company, immediately you will get an alarm. That alarm will be an audio and video alarm. Video alarm means it will start blinking, the red color will be blinking, and the alarm will be something like what I have demonstrated using the simulator. So with that, the control room operator will understand that there is something going wrong in the plant. Either with the using the control room or keyboard, you will take corrective action, or you will talk to the field operator and ask him to do something. For example, if the feed pump is not pumping properly and you are getting low flow and the low flow alarm is triggered, he will ask the field operator to start the spare pump. Instead of 101A, now he will ask him to start 101B and stop the 101A pump and hand it over for maintenance. So that way safety is taken care. Beyond all that, if something goes extremely wrong, then you have the PLC systems and emergency shutdown systems. And the alarm summary is there. When the volume change, hydrocarbon temperature and measure same, how can we handle it? So all these instruments are calibrated for the operating temperature and pressure. And they are also, normally a plant is supposed to maintain at steady state. For example, one particular column, atmospheric distillation column, at the bottom zone, maintain the temperature will be 360 degrees. The top zone will be 120 degrees centigrade. So that will be maintained safe. And all the instruments, especially the flow instruments, because as you mentioned, the flow instruments will give a wrong reading when the volume changes due to temperature changes. They are all calibrated by the instrument technician. So that's how things are taken care. So that is how it is taken care. And when we are measuring, when the products are manufactured in the and stored in the tank, so normally in a petrol retail outlet, the quantity of petrol stored in the sump is measured with the help of a dipstick. I think all of you would have seen that. With the dipstick, he will know what is the level, and when he knows the level, he will be able to convert the volume. But whereas in the refinery, they do not want to measure the volume, they want to measure the metric ton. So for which they will also measure the temperature of the tank. So they know the level, they know the temperature, and using the calibration table, they will know how much quantity, whether it is petrol, diesel, or fuel oil, the mass, they will say. The mass will remain same. The as you said, due to atmospheric temperature variation or due to rundown temperature variation, the volume will change. But the mass will remain same. The mass they will calculate, which will be used for all their oil accounting purpose. Any other question? That was a brilliant question, Nitin. So I think most of the questions are answered, and thank you for being wonderful audience and very reacting audience, responding audience. Thank you so much. Probably we will call it a day. I'll share the quiz slide program after you people attend the quiz. I'll share the quiz link to Nikhil, who will share it with the entire group. And once the quiz is taken and done, then I'll be sharing a little later this slide deck. So Nikhil, can we close today's session?
Yes, sir. Thank you for interesting session. Participants will join us 10 minutes prior to the starting. Will join us 5:50 p.m. exactly tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Good night. Bye.
Have a
Yes.
good night, sir. Bye bye. Thank you so much, participant. You can
Thank you. Bye.
take rest.